Are you into relationships that ignore the laws of nature and society? Do you want to find the most depraved sexualization of the human body? Maybe you love terrible anime plots and shitty animation. Well, look no further. I've suffered for you to collect 10 anime you should never watch because if you did, you would lose a piece of that soul of yours. Each show that has gained the honor of being on my list of reasons why have their own reasons for being on here. Some of them are worse than others. Some of them house crimes against humanity. Some are just weird. There is no order, just 10 unique series to show your friends to make them go, wow, you're never gonna find love. In which case you have nothing to worry about because somehow I have, and I've already watched this entire list. So stop focusing on your normal friend who doesn't think watching a dog in high school or form a loving relationship is good entertainment. Well, I'd just say he's wrong. Enough banter. This is 10 anime that you should never watch. One of the more tame picks, this anime focuses on a group of young athletes who hope to make their dreams come true through the wondrous sport of Keijo, Japan's newest sport that involves women using all their assets to incapacitate and potentially kill their opposition. You see here, this woman is foaming at the mouth after suffering blunt force trauma from the ass assassin straight to the soft spot of the cranium. Keijo may stand apart with its unique sport, but the main protagonist and their surrounding friend group are boring and lack the ability to come off as human and not a figment of an estranged mangaka's imagination. Yes, this anime falls into the ecchi cookie jar, which I have reached my hand into. Yes, I have been a confused 13-year-old boy before, and yes, I still use that excuse 9 years later. The sexualization isn't as strong as others, and while it can at times feel in poor taste, it's kind of expected from a show about women using their hips to push each other off platforms. If you don't want to see that, don't watch it. Me? I don't care. I've watched Yuri on Ice, Cheer Boys, and Yarichin Bitch Club. I'm unbiased when it comes to entertainment. So overall, Keijo isn't the worst anime out there, but is definitely not the best and will likely make any woman in your life question your worth as a man. Just imagine explaining this to your grandma. That isn't easy. Now, Grandma, if you're watching this was for research purposes. Me and the boys are not openly involved in the underground Keijo gambling scene. That is a lie. You've heard of this one. Mars of Destruction is the worst clone of Evangelion that has ever graced my eyes. They try to insert the plot of an entire 26-episode series into 19 minutes of runtime. We go from one jarring scene to another with absolutely no explanation. Even the characters don't know why this guy gets put in a suit by his father. Its plot relies on the fact that you've seen Evangelion so that you can go, oh, so it's like Evangelion, which makes this a little less convoluted. But if you have to do that to understand a completely unrelated show, that's not good. The animation is deplorable. I don't think it can get much worse than this, although I'll give it 10 points for the most undramatic decapitation I have ever seen. Her friends don't even react. The end line of this shit show is the aliens' commander claiming that they are the real Earthlings and that the humans are the invaders. Then he mentions something about being released by a virus before his upper body explodes after Asuka with buns and crew shoots him. If this was their attempt to be philosophical, as we'll see many, many more times, this was worse than Freud's belief that we were attracted to our mothers. This OVA is awful, but it doesn't commit any crimes against humanity, so there is that. And you thought Mars of Destruction was bad. Skelter Heaven ups the ante with beautiful CGI that only a true anime connoisseur can appreciate. So much more time must have been spent on crafting believable CGI robots than was spent on the actual animation. And by more time, I mean a whole extra 20 minutes. Not only does this wondrous wannabe Evangelion mech anime have the worst animation direction I've had the humble experience of staring at for a whole 19 minutes, but the entire plot does not make any sense. It makes even less sense than Mars of Destruction. I'm the guy who can make sense of incomprehensible anime on YouTube, and even I am at a loss for what these things are and why they decided to invade Earth, much less the character motivations to act like they've had zero training in piloting. To wrap this one on a neat bow, I'll summarize the experience for you. Inexperienced anime girls pilot weapons of mass destruction. They failed. Well, the last two shows have been included for their unique creative direction. Oreimo finds itself here, along with most to come, for actually violating the laws of society and sending us back to the Middle Ages where being with your sibling was considered a-okay, and a natural thing to do, which in this case, they marry. My first experience with Oreimo was as a wee youngster who had very many curiosities with the world. I watched all 2 seasons hoping this degenerate would choose the shy, quiet girl or this unexpected friend, and not his actual fucking sister. sister, because why the hell would you do that? It's not uncommon for anime to throw in a few incest jokes to get a little chuckle out of the viewer, but this was absolutely too far for the young sock Sensei. How could you possibly in good conscience turn down two girls who obviously like you so you can marry your actual sister? This is unheard of outside the wondrous states of Alabama and Mississippi, and shocked my little Midwestern mind. Normally, people don't look for a romantical partner in their sister. It seems the Albanian gene escaped the facilities and made its way to Japan. I had to retaliate. I had to do something. Escape the horrors in front of my eyes. I had to figure it out. So I started a show that would hopefully set the boundaries between brother and sister more realistically. How does one choose wrong twice and end up watching yet another siscon degenerate piece of shit? Well, it may have not been a mistake. I was a very curious young teen. Regardless, I felt more sick than I did watching Oreimo because this time, the sister did not question her attraction to her brother. Not for one instant did she try to fight the urge to throw herself at her blood relative. Not once. Neither does anyone in this world for that matter. Even the teacher is trying to seduce the MC in the middle of her classroom. What more is there to say except this is exactly what the title says it is. OniAi, brother love. I give it a few points for being satire. The female form, something within art that is treated as a gift from God itself. Many spend centuries trying to accurately depict its beauty in their own way, and others make me question why we were given opposable thumbs. Eiken is simply explained as a cultural staple of why the Japanese animation community is so hard to understand. One moment you could be watching Death Note, the next you could be watching a shy boy join an all-girls club and be somewhat assaulted by women with the largest breast implants to exist outside of America. This show does not make sense. This show is not even that funny. This show makes you question any reason you started it for. I myself crossed its waters on a cultural journey through all that anime has to offer. Such is my excuse for anything that remotely makes me question my morals. Should you watch it? Like anything on this list, the answer is no, unless you really want to watch something that you leave less of a man and more of a guy your friends look at and pity. Mine already do that, so we're doing pretty good. Now this marks the point of no return. Everything past this line is actually a crime of humanity, and the creator should not be trusted around any living thing. There is no redemption found past this point of the video. All that awaits you is desolation and misery. You have been warned. Now, we'll keep going. When I heard about EndSky, I was told it was an anime, but upon further inspection, the word anime was a little off. And so I had to experience the strangest X-rated garbage that mankind has created. EndSky follows a guy with his girl childhood friend after a high school cultist assaults another student, which somehow leads to her believing his cultist ideals and then jumping off a roof. The cultist then somehow persuades other women into the actual sewers where he whips and assaults them, which again somehow makes them believe his cultist ideas. What are his ideals exactly? I really have no fucking idea. He continuously repeats EndSky like it's some well-known belief structure. From what I can deduce, it's about there being an end after death. But oh look, the woman who jumped off a roof and killed herself appears as a ghost because that makes sense, and then simply tells the cultist, hey, there's no end to life after death. And he just fucking loses it on the spot in front of a green screen. This seems to mean he's changed. I guess the women he tortured are just fine now as well. Should I even be asking questions? It's probably for the best I don't. MC saves his friend and they do what happens in every adult cartoon. We're not gonna talk about it. EndSky gets a big thumbs down for making me want to do the same thing this girl did to escape the majority of the show. Alright, Pupa is an anime where the sister is turned into a flesh-eating monster who feasts on her undying, regenerative brother's flesh, while each scene this occurs in has sexual undertones. Not much more can be said. I don't think I'll ever experience a more traumatizing brother and sister relationship, so good on them for that. The reason behind the siblings' issues is not very well explained. It's just a virus that infects the two of them. Then the brother puts a drug in his flesh and he has his flesh-eating sister feast on that, which could you know, this is a leap, could potentially revert her to normal human being again. But really, who would be the same after eating their brother's flesh? I don't know if there's any going back from this. There is a storyline to be found here. They get kidnapped. The SWAT team is involved. There's this poltergeist woman. It's all too elaborate to be meaningful to me. Is the show meant as shock factor? Yeah, probably. So good job. You succeeded at that, but at what cost, guys? How much do you have to lose to pull such a meager win? Guns, muscle, Budweiser, random shirtless women, more muscles, more random shirtless women, Trump Tower, assault. That is what Wounded Man is, and that's all it is. This is a failed attempt from the anime industry to capture the American 80s action movie, and all it comes off as is incomprehensible. The man character, Mr. Wounded Man, within the first 5 minutes of the show, forces himself on this woman. His reasoning? To make her aware of the dangers of the Amazon rainforest and hopefully scare her away. This somehow miraculously leads her to start liking him, and she ends up just not caring that he actually assaulted her. It's truly a wonder. It's not that they even treat the woman in the show as incapable. A majority of them know karate and how to shoot a gun, and they do that. Yet, for some reason to do so, they are shirtless. Maybe this is their recognition of the Free the Nip campaign? Then again, it came out 20 years too early for that. There are many plot threads that are just wrong. There's always some woman without a shirt. Someone's always boning the Wounded Man. He's just that hot, I guess. There are just countless barbaric men, and they're all deplorable. There's really not that much to say about them. Overall, Wounded Man is pretty comical because of how weird and wrong the actions of the characters are. Wounded Man just flexes and people repel back in fear. He touches his silver hair and women just scream to the heavens in ecstasy. This man's aura is just so strong. He eats shirtless at a black tie dinner, yet still he can't surpass the Wounded Man who has abs that can stop a knife from penetrating them. This show's stupid. This show's bad. This show has some very bad crimes that are glorified. It was an experience to watch, almost like peering into a Japanese interpretation of Sylvester Stallone. But boy, was it not a good one. I saved the best for last. Kennel Tokorozawa follows a dog, yes a dog, who is obsessed with trying to bone a girl, a high school girl. That is the plot. That is the plot. This perverted dog is beaten, as he should, as he tries to do what dogs do best, which is put it back. His little guy is actually a little guy version of him, and worse, yes worse, the girl's teacher tries to separate and assault this high school girl on an overnight field trip, which is only prevented by the deviant of a dog who, after performing one of his only good deeds, results in his pecker being chomped by a snake. That is the end. That is the end. And actually, I spoke too soon. If you stay after the credits roll, you will be gifted by an interview with the creator in a dog costume smelling shoes. I can't make that up. I did not have an English translation, and each time I rewatch this bit, I'm too awestruck to follow the Japanese. This interview will just be a scar in my mind, and now it's in yours too. Just look into this man's eyes and tell me he is sane. Well, we've reached the end of the road. We saw some bad anime, some morally questionable, and some that are just crimes. They're just crimes. Some of you may wonder how some of these anime exist. How could someone greenlight this? How did the studios not face societal judgment? How can this man's mother look her boy in the face after watching him sniff women's shoes in a dog costume? Well, guys, it's Japan. There are some of these shows that face stiff judgment from the home nation, but there's also the fact of the matter that the East is very different from the West. Japan's culture is different from our own. What is seen as crossing a line here is not seen as such over there. Our dark comedy is different. While I could bust out a joke about Hiroshima and any other major tragedy, here in America, there would be some people that would laugh. That would, however, not go over well in Japan. We have our differences, and it's good to recognize that. On the other hand, some things just do not age well with time. Some of the shit in Wounded Man is just not acceptable. At the end of the day, though, these are all cartoons. Some of them cartoons that depict questionable relationships and imagery, but still, they're fiction. You can watch them or not. I personally recommend you don't. Either way, I've delivered to you 10 anime you should never watch, and I have 10 more if you really want to torture your feeble soul. Just let me know. Hit me up if you will. I have what you desire. Well, for the chance few of you that steeled your resolve and made it to this point, you're welcome. If you, for some strange reason, want a uncensored version, you can find that over on Patreon right now. And remember, I don't approve of the South's view on brother and sister relationships. じゃあ、おやすみアメリカ。またね。